Welcome. If you are just joining me, I'm going to wait another minute to get started. So feel free to settle in. I don't know if you're driving or if you are sitting at your office desk, maybe eating lunch. I'm so excited to be with you, and we'll get started in about 1 minute. All right, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to be with you here today. I'm just going to get started right here. I know we have many more women that will be joining, and there will be some men. The topic of today, though, because I want to honor your time, is breaking free, how to overcome overwhelm and rediscover your joy. And if you're thinking like, cool, Erica, great topic to cover, like I have no idea how that's going to happen because everyone's walking around crazy, stressed out, freaked out, busy. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what day it is. They're trying to take care of themselves and like nothing's working for them. So I don't know how you're going to have something that works, but cool. Guess what? I do. And I've actually done it in my own life. This isn't like, hey, I went and got accredited in this thing or I read this book and it works. Like I've done it in my own life and I believe it's possible. And I've helped many other people do it as well. So this is the title if you're just coming in, how to move from overwhelm and to rediscover your joy. Also, if you could put some things in the chat as you're listening, as just like what's coming up for you, that would be so helpful for me so that we can engage and talk together. If you're like, yeah, totally, I agree with that, or like, man, that's such a struggle for me. So I'm going to begin sharing that I didn't always live in a place where joy was accessible to me. I actually thought that it wasn't accessible. I spent a lot of my life not in this place. I remember earliest memories being pretty young, but even through college, I would remember I couldn't even get out of bed. I had this like loft dorm, but I thought if I can just find something, I'd scan through my day mentally. What is going on in my day that could make me feel joy, that could make me happy? And I literally couldn't and wouldn't get out of bed until I found that thing. And then when I found the thing, I would get out of bed. Like I'm going to talk to my boyfriend or going to do a fun thing with my friends or whatever, something that would have brought me joy. I also remember moments, now this was more recently when my kids were really little, where I would practice smiling. I literally practiced smiling because I thought if I just could practice some smiling, then I would be able to know what this felt like and then maybe I could do it more. And I would even do like laughing exercises. Like I would engage my kids in these. All great things, all steps in my journey. But I couldn't access joy. I didn't know where it came from, so I thought if I just like do some laughing exercises, I'll be happier. Wow. And you might be in that place where you're like, I don't even know if I can do a laughing exercise. Laughing just feels like so outside of where I'm at right now. And some of you might not be in that place, but what I want to share is that joy is possible. And so the tone that I want to set for this session is that what we're going to do today is understand why joy isn't a fleeting emotion, but it's our natural state and how to reclaim it because it's totally possible to reclaim it. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to explain why overwhelm, fatigue, and anxiety take over, how to reset, and introduce some practical steps, how to move away from these pseudo joys. You're like, what's a pseudo joy? I'm going to talk about it, and toward authentic emotional freedom. And then I'm also going to encourage you how to reconnect with joy as your baseline. As your baseline. All right. So first we're going to get into the science of why we get stuck. And if you're like me in the past, you're like the science, I don't care about the science, Erica. And I'm like, I know you don't care about the science. Maybe you do. I used to hate science too. I hated science in school until I learned that science actually benefits me and that there's a lot in science that we can learn from. So we're going to begin with the brain and stress because I don't know what place you're at right now. I don't know if you're having a really stressful day. I don't know if today's actually been like really great. Maybe things are going well for you, but chances are if you've joined this webinar, it's because there's something happening in your life where you can't feel joy, or maybe you don't even remember. Many of my clients I work with, they're like, I can't remember a time where I felt joy. It was probably when I was 4 years old. Somehow 4 years old is like the magic number. So I'm going to explain the brain and stress. So, what happens to our bodies and our brains in stress is that our brain has a survival mechanism because you are a survivor. You have survived, whether you had like the big T trauma, little T trauma, that's phrases they use in the therapy world, whether you had really hard things happen in life or you're like, I don't know, my life was generally good. You had hard things happen because no one is perfect in this world. And so, no one perfectly could attune and create space for you. And so, there were times where your feelings weren't allowed to be felt or valued and your needs weren't met. It's just part of how life happens. And that's okay. What happens though is you learn to survive. And your brain has this survival mechanism and it has this amygdala. And the amygdala allows for this fight, flight, or freeze. Some of you have heard of your nervous system. You've heard of this like your body going into fight or flight, like a being chased by a tiger, or fight, flight, or freeze, your body literally claiming up. But this is what happens when we are in chronic stress. And typically we can go to all of them, but what I find is we go to one that we are more likely to have gone to as children. So as children, there was one that you went to. Maybe you were abused. Maybe you got yelled at a lot emotionally in abuse. And so your mechanism was to check out, to freeze, shut down, disembody, and go somewhere else and just learn to freeze. Maybe a lot was asked of you as a child. Maybe someone died in your family or your parents were just like really like needed a lot from you and you didn't get to live a lot of childhood. And so you went into fight or flight. You're like always going go 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 go. If I can just remain busy, I won't have to feel the pain. If I can just remain busy, my parents will be happy with me. If I can just keep achieving, go go, that is that fight situation. Whatever that was as a child, typically it's what you're accessing now. Now we access all of them in survival, but if you're like, which one am I? You'll naturally we find like we're one of the ones that will like check out. I'm gone. Psh, like I'm a functional freezer. I do my job, but when I come home, I'm just out. I just check out. Or you're like, go, go, go. I can never stop going. I can never stop doing. I literally want to pass out. That would be more of that fight state. So this happens in the amygdala because the amygdala is our brain's alarm system. The amygdala keeps us stuck in fear and anxiety. It limits our access to joy. And you're like, wow, Erica, this is such a joyful topic. I'm so glad I joined this. Stick with me because I have so much to share with you to access joy. Also, I've got a special offer and a free gift for you right here in the chat link for joining. So I can't wait for you to be a part of that. But we have to get through this first part to understand why are you in overwhelm? It's nothing you're doing wrong. It is now your responsibility. As a child, things happened to you, whether they were super traumatic or not, that you couldn't really control. You were reliant upon your caretakers for food, for water, for survival, for shelter. Now you're not, but your body is living a relic of the past, and it's still living like it is that way. And this makes it ultra hard to access joy because our brain, the amygdala, is still in stress. The tiger is literally chasing you. And you're like, there's no tiger. You're like, yeah, well, you're kind of living like it. Like, I'll just give an example. A lot of my healing in life has been one thing that I've done is as I was learning how to slow down and get out of this fight state, I would literally move around my house like so slow. And I was like, if I move super slow, then I will slow my body down because I would find myself running through the house. Like, Erica, where are you going? Who's chasing you? Well, the tiger's chasing me. The tiger, because if I can get enough done, if I can be productive enough, if I can make enough money, if I can be successful enough, then I'll have joy and then I'll be happy. But I can't sit down and I can't stop. Does this resonate with you? Our amygdala is there to help us. It is a good gift. If you believe in God, I believe in God. It is a good gift you've been given. It's a good gift, but it was not created for you to live there 24/7. You also have a prefrontal cortex, and this has been developed in your brain. This was developed later, but it's now developed because I know all of you are adults and you're on here and you're listening. And this prefrontal cortex, this is the emotional regulation state. And there is a way to strengthen it. So if you're like, I am not emotionally regulated at all, do I even have a prefrontal cortex? Yes, you have a prefrontal cortex. I guarantee you that you do, but it probably isn't strengthened. And when it's not strengthened and you are living in fight or flight, your ability to access joy is very small because you think about this. If you're in fight or flight, let's think about this. If a tiger is chasing you, what do you think your body is going to be doing? Is your body gonna be like, let's like sit down and enjoy our day? Like, let me listen to you and really hold space for you, or your digestive system. Do you think your body's like, I'm going to give energy towards digesting food or losing weight or enjoying my life? No, your body is like, survival, survival. Things aren't going well. We are in a big, bad situation here. We've got to get out, which is good in the moment, but not when you live in it forever, because we have this prefrontal cortex. Some people call it a joy center. And this joy center was created to be ultra strengthened from, guess what? From the day you were born. It was created to start being formed from the day you were born. But for many of us, it wasn't. For many of us, when we were born and we looked around and we're looking for eyes that are looking for us and we're looking for a face to behold us, there wasn't one. Maybe there was one sometimes. Maybe you saw a little bit of glimmers of that, but we also were created to watch our caregivers have joy as their baseline, which is the next place I'm going. Our nervous system was designed for joy, not just for survival. Your baseline emotion, you ready for this? And I think I can't see everyone here, but I'm guaranteeing most of us are women here as I saw the webinar list and registration. As women, we saw modeled our baseline of stress, of worry, of overwhelm, of productivity, of get things done. We did not see joy as the baseline. Like if you walk around looking at just like the average woman, her baseline is not joy. How are you? Busy, overwhelmed, stressed. I have so much going on. None of those are someone who has joy as their baseline. They have stress as their baseline. They have busyness as their baseline, but they don't have joy. When I first learned that joy is my baseline emotion, how I was created to be, it blew my mind. Now, people in the healing world take this too far. And they are like, we're going to be all zen and chill, and we are never going to be angry, and we're never going to be stressed out, and we're never going to be sad because we're healed. Guess what? That's not how you were created. You were created to have joy as like a baseline, maybe like a gentle trampoline. I don't really know if trampoline's the great metaphor, but you're created to live in joy. Then you're created to go out to overwhelm and come back. Go out to grief and come back. Go out to being angry and pissed off and come back. You were created to go out and you were created to come back. So when you get caught off in the parking lot, that scares you. Maybe your kids are in the car. Maybe you just bought this new car. You're worried financially, you're worried physically. You were created to go out there, fully feel your feelings, see what you need, and then come back. But it's in the coming back we didn't get modeled. And probably our caregivers didn't have this modeled for us. And some of us, we got this modeled, but there were times where it wasn't modeled perfectly because our parents are humans. And so we learned that model as well. Okay. I got really excited. I got off my notes here. Um, this is how we're wired. And if you just even like Google neuroscience and how babies are wired, this is how we were wired. And for some of you, as I'm sharing this, it's bringing up a lot of grief. Feel it. Like legit, feel it. Feel it in your body. Where are you feeling it? It's bringing up a lot for you because you are feeling like, no, I wasn't seen. No, I wasn't known for who I was. No, my feelings weren't valid. I was looking for someone looking for me, which by the way, you're doing all day in your life, even in the grocery store. You're looking for people who want to look at you. And when we don't have that, we don't have joy. I don't care how much success have, how thin your body is, how much money you have, how beautiful and clean your house is, how well behaved your children are, how great of a college that they're getting into. I don't care about any of that. And guess what? Your body doesn't care either. Your body wants true joy and true connection, which we're going to get into. Okay. So what happens then is we have to survive. We are survivors. You're alive here today. You're clothed, I'm guessing. I can't see you. I'm guessing you're clothed. I'm pretty sure you probably ate something. You probably had coffee or water or something in your body. You're probably in a place where you're warm. Like you are a survivor. You have survived. You're going to keep surviving as long as you're alive. But when we do not have true joy in our life, and joy is part of our survival, when we don't have that, we're gonna go find it. You're gonna go find it. And if you can't get it in the true way, which you're like, Erica, what's the true way? I'm gonna share with you. In the true way we were created to have joy, you're going to go find these what I call pseudo joys. I like to use quotations. I don't even know if that's still a popular thing, but it was when I was growing up. So pseudo joys. What are pseudo joys? Anything good or not good can be a pseudo joy. For example, overeating is a pseudo joy. Binge watching TV, pseudo joy. Excessive scrolling on your phone, pseudo joy. Online shopping, alcohol, pornography, having an affair, you name it. Something's coming to your mind. I know. These are pseudo joys. In and of themselves, in moderation, other than I believe pornography and having an affairs, these things aren't bad, but it's why we're going to them. You do not have joy in your life. Your nervous system is off the charts and your body's trying to come back to joy, but you don't know how. You didn't see it modeled. Your nervous system can't do it. And so you go eat the chocolate, or you stop and you get the Ben and Jerry's ice cream, or you pull out this device and you start scrolling on it. And for a minute, you get a dopamine hit. You do. It's just your body knows. It's smart. It's why when you're in this space, you are not going to eat an avocado. You're going to get a donut or a crackers. Like your body wants that quick carb. It knows how to get the dopamine. It's learned it from a young age and it's going to go find it. And for a moment, it kind of works, right? I mean, you go get the late night crumble cookie, you get the food DoorDash to your house, and you eat it, and you're like, right? But then it actually feels worse later because that's not what your body truly wanted. That's not the joy it truly wants. And so these pseudo joys, can become addictive in this way because we're getting those little hits and we can get them many places. And if you have access, which most of us do, and you have some financial ability, which most of us do, we can get these things in so many ways. But what happens is each time we go to a pseudo joy, instead of to getting true joy, we feel more disconnected. We feel more guilty and we feel more exhausted than ever before because it wasn't how you were created to find and to achieve joy. And I will tell you that there are many things we can pursue in this life, but what your body wants is to be seen, loved, heard, understood, connected, and have joy. That's what you're looking for in all the things. It's what we're all looking for. So, how do we reconnect to this joy? And by the way, if you're just thinking like, Erica, I don't know how this sounds great, but how am I ever going to do this on my own? I have a really neat offer that I want to give you because this stuff can't be done through a webinar. I believe true healing is not going to happen just on this webinar today. It needs to happen in community. It needs to happen. Your story needs to come and be held and be seen how you weren't seen. Your face wasn't looked for. People weren't looking for you. Your feelings weren't felt. Your needs weren't met. So we're going to get to that in a little bit. But I'm going to first talk now about how we get to authentic joy. Because joy is more than a feeling, and joy is not happiness. Joy is not happiness. Joy is a state of being deeply connected, you ready for this? To ourselves, to others, and to a greater purpose. And for me, I believe God, maybe you have a higher power. But when we are connected to ourselves, and that isn't like, I'm going to go deep internal and do like all this, deep whatever work and totally like recreate myself. Like, yes, healing needs to happen. I guarantee you. We all need it. I'm always walking through healing. But when you take time to feel what you're feeling, to understand and actually be with yourself, you put this little lovely device down, we put the chocolate down, we put all the things down, and we actually sit in quiet and feel what we're feeling and understand what we need, joy starts to come back because you start to honor that part that was never honored. When you get in relationship with people who fully see you, who fully love you, and they're not perfect, they're going to make mistakes, but you're in this place where communication can happen about that. And then you have this connection with God or the greater purpose that you have in this world. This is how true joy comes. It comes through being connected and connecting. It comes through appreciation and appreciating And it comes through living in alignment with our values. And many of us are not living in alignment with our values because we are walking around so angry. Why are we so angry? Anger comes when a boundary's been crossed. You are angry because a boundary's been crossed. Now, as children, and maybe even now in life, there are times where boundaries were crossed, especially as a child, and you couldn't do anything about it. The boundaries were crossed with your caregivers, emotionally, physically, in whatever way, and there was nothing that you were able to do. And there might be even times, I mean, there's serious situations where your boundaries were crossed and you couldn't do anything about it, but there are many times, most of the time now, where you can do a lot about it and your boundaries have been crossed and you've allowed them to be crossed. And that is when the anger comes. Here's an example. Your children, you're like, clean up your room, clean up your room. If you don't clean up your room, you're not going to your friend's house. And they're not cleaning up their room. And you're like, oh, my children aren't cleaning up their room. Anger. Why? Because a boundary's been crossed. And you did not do the work to, in that moment, go take the time to have a conversation, train your child. Maybe there's some discipline that needs to happen for that boundary to not be crossed and the boundary to stay set. There's lots of things in your relationship where a boundary is crossed. Maybe your husband comes home from work and you've come home from a hard day of work and you are like, I just had the worst day and it was so difficult and da da da, and you're sharing how you feel and your husband's like, well, you just shouldn't do that. Maybe you should just get a new job. You just keep complaining all the time. Like it's obviously not something you want to do and I just hate you. I hate listening to you always talk about it. You start to get angry. A boundary's been crossed. You are not seen. You are not heard truly for what you were trying to share. This is where anger comes. And this is where joy leaves because this is where the fight or flight comes. And you were like, I have been crossed way too many times before, maybe childhood story, and you're not going to cross me. And I'm going to shut you off. And what happens is we have this relational circuit in our brains. And when we are not in this relational circuit and our brain goes offline, it is almost nearly impossible to access joy because joy needs to be accessed relationally. The way that this happens, and I want to give you, before I start to give some practical tools how to work through this, is you have this joy center that you were created to live in. And you're created to springboard into grief. We talked about that. You remember a friend who died, and you go and sit in that feeling and you feel it. And you ask, these are two, if you're going to be taking notes, this is like the two most key things. What am I feeling? How do I need to feel it in my body? And what do I need? Is there anything I need? I was going through this last time. I was feeling really overwhelmed about several things. And I am learning in my healing to share this with my husband. I'm going to get to this in a minute as one of the tools. And I shared with him, I am feeling so overwhelmed, so taxed, so lonely. I probably did some of this to myself, deciding to do too many things this week. He's like, oh, because we've worked in our relationship. What do you need? I'm like, I just need you to hold me. I didn't need him to talk. I didn't need him to fix anything. I just needed him to hold me. And after, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes, my body was like, I was back in a place of joy. Now, some of you might be like, well, that's so great, Erica, that you and your husband have that. Well, let me tell you, many years ago, that was not the place we were in because I wasn't feeling my feelings. I didn't know my needs and he didn't either. And then we didn't know how to hold space and attune to each other. And so this is a process and this takes time, but it is powerful because the process of joy needs to be grown. If your joy is about this small, your access to joy because of how you grew up and how you saw it modeled and in our culture, then you can only handle this much sadness, this much grief, this much anger, this much fear. I've seen it described. There's an amazing ministry out there called Life Model. They do great work. Go read their books. They talk about this model called Joy Mountain. You have this mountain, and let's say that someone cuts you off in the parking lot. I love that example. We'll just come to it. And so you go up that mountain in anger, fear, sadness, whatever it is. But your joy is only this high. Your ability to access joy, you only have this much like joy store inside of you. It's not like you have to build it up every day. It's just like your access to joy. What happens then is you're too far up that mountain and your joy store isn't far enough. And so in that place, you're stuck. And you basically have two choices. One, you can shut it down. Well, I don't know how to get back. So I'm either going to just live in this fear, sadness, anger, overwhelm for the rest of my life, How many of us have lived there and see that all the time? You're like, "How are you?" "I'm just so stressed out." "Oh, life is so stressful." They're up there. They didn't have enough joy stores to come down. Or they check out and they're like, "I don't know what to do with this, and so I'm just out." And how many of us can't even name one emotion that we're feeling? How many of our husbands, men that we know in our lives, if you showed them an emoji chart or a feelings wheel, they'd be like, "I don't know, I'm just good. I don't know. No, I'm here." Okay, they're up there and they can't come back. So when we grow our joy, then we can come back. But you can only come back from those things that you have these joy stores to get to. So then how do we grow this joy? The first thing is we have to calm our body so that we are not living in a constant state of fight or flight. We need to begin to calm our brain. I am going to share an opportunity that I have in a few minutes where we will really dive into more of these things. But you can begin to do deep breathing, mindfulness practices. You can just even Google like somatic breathing exercises, a nervous system calming down breathing. But when we calm, we have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system. And you're like, Erica, these are too many scientific words. It's okay. You've got the place that goes or shuts down, or you've got the place that comes back to joy. That place that comes back to joy, we need to activate that more. We need to strengthen it. We need to strengthen our joy stores. And so slowing down, calming down, even this, like my shoulders, I literally think I used to look like this and now I'm like this. Like, I'm like, look, the biology of my body is changing because I'm learning how to relax my body. Literally, I find myself still. Yesterday, I was like holding like this, bracing. For what? I'm alone in this house. No one's ready to attack me. Let your shoulders drop. Begin to breathe. Relax your body. Know that you can come back to a place of joy. These will lower our stress hormones. Your weight loss will be way easier. Your adrenal glands and your thyroid will struggle way less. I mean, so much of us, I won't go into this too much right now, but so much of our health struggles as women is because our nervous system is crazy out the wazoo and we can't calm down. And guess what? When a tiger is chasing you, is your body going to focus on losing weight or worrying about digestion? No, it's going to get out of the way of the tiger. So what's it going to do? It's going to use all the juice from the adrenal gland, all the juice from your thyroid. It's going to deny your stomach. You're definitely not going to digest food well. How many of us have stomach and digestive problems? It's all so connected. I won't go too much on that. That's for another day. We should do another webinar. But we need to begin to understand, what am I feeling? If you're going to take two words away from this, it's feelings and needs. What am I feeling? Get out an emoji chart. I love to use this with clients. I get a feelings wheel and look at it. Do this with your kids if you have kids at home or your spouse or whoever's in your life. What am I feeling right now? And what do I need? And if you can't access it right now, access it in a time where you're going to use a pseudo joy, because part of this is understanding what are your pseudo joys. A huge one for me was alcohol. So I'm going to use this example, is identify a pseudo joy. So for me, it was alcohol. As I began to do this work and I started to realize I am drinking alcohol, because first I tried all the behavioral modifications, which are fine. They're great. Don't have it in the house. Don't have it on my weekly shopping list. Only have it on date nights, only with friends, once a week. I tried all these things and it was good, but it didn't work because I had something here. I did not have joy. I was not feeling seen, loved, and connected, nor was I seen and loving and connecting with myself or allowing God to do that. And so when I began to feel, I am feeling so overwhelmed. I'm feeling so lonely. I feel like I have to do all of this on my own and no one's coming. Does that resonate with you? No one's coming. It's actually not true, but it might resonate with you. And so when I was in that place, that was what I was feeling. And that, guys, that took a while to get there. And I had to hire a coach to help me get there. And then what do I need? I need to be seen. I need someone to hold me. I'm super smart and capable and talented, and I believe you are too. I believe we all are. But I don't have to do this all on my own. Gosh, there's so much to do in this world. I need someone to see me. And I began to choose, who am I going to feel seen, loved, and connected with? Who am I going to allow to, when I look at them, that they look at me, that my face can be beheld? And I started with my husband, and then I moved on to God, friends, family. You'll decide, but there's some breakage in your life. And for many of us, it started when we were younger. And that's where healing comes. And that's where we need to be held. And our story and our situation needs to be seen in a new light, one on one with someone working with you or in a group setting where you can be seen in a new way, not denied, not shunned, not pushed away, but actually for the first time being like, whoa, you had feelings and needs that were not met. You had love that was not given to you. And we want to create that space for you now to access that so that then you can access it in your relationships now. Because it's not just the now we need to work on, it's we need to look to the past to why we're living now. Why we're living now. It's the both and. And so in the both and, I began to do that work and I began to identify what my pseudo joys were. And it was not easy to say goodbye to alcohol. And I honestly, watching women in their 50s and 60s, I don't think I'll return to alcohol because it just doesn't serve the body physically very well either. But I began to find that this pseudo joy wasn't serving me. And I began to find what I really needed. And for us in our relationship, for my husband and I, that's where we began because my husband realized and learned the same thing. And we began to learn that we both had these needs and we could meet them together with each other. We also needed to have connection and love and acceptance with ourselves. We also needed that from God, but we really truly needed it through each other. And your story might not be with your spouse, and that's okay. But I know that you have pseudo joys that you're going to, and I know there's a story of why you're going there. And chances are, if you're on this call, your nervous system, because 99.9% of Americans and people in this world are living this way, is in that crazy hamster wheel of fight or flight. But there is power to look at what is happening and to say, what am I feeling here and what do I need? And it's not like, well, I need my husband to do all the yard work, all the housework, and then I'll be happy. Okay, that's a pseudo joy. So great if he does that for you. But your needs are going to be deep and they're going to be internal. And if you sit with your 4, 5, 6-year-old self, they're going to be a lot of the needs that he or she had to. So we begin to strengthen relational joy. We begin to slow down. Maybe that means changing how you do life. Maybe your family is so busy because you have everything scheduled, all your work, all your volunteer activities, all your kids' stuff. Your kids and you and your spouse, you don't have time to slow down. Because guess what? Your kids, their nervous systems are probably feeling this way too, if this is the way your home is. Not in a way of shame, but a way of awareness to start to bring this language and information into your home. What are we feeling and what do we need? And if we don't have slow spaces to actually feel this and to have these conversations, then we're never going to get off that hamster wheel. Most of the people around us living in this world, they're on a hamster wheel and they can't get off. And you might be like, I'm on the hamster wheel. Guess what? Have you ever seen a hamster on a hamster wheel? All they have to do is stop. All they have to do is stop and get off and begin to look around. Be like, do I like that hamster wheel? Do I like how that hamster wheel is going? Is there another way that I want to live? Because when we start to develop this awareness of ourself, the shame can end. You might be shaming yourself in your health. You might be shaming yourself that you can't stop watching those they're kind of like porn, but they're not really like porn romantic comedies because you don't have that true love connection in your relationship with someone. So you need to get it pseudo in a TV show. You know, in the Christian world, I don't know how many of you are Christians, but it's like pornography is bad, shut it off. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. It's not good because it's a pseudo joy. But if we just shame someone and shut it off, we're not going to hear what they feel and what they need. Same in your health. Go get healthy. Go get on a program. You guys, many of you know I'm a health coach. Love that. But that can't be your only thing because I'm curious, why are you going to food when you are stressed, overwhelmed, feeling out of control, wanting to be happy? There's something deeper there and there's a deeper work. So my huge encouragement for you today is to go begin doing that work. The next steps in this, and I have for you, is let's see. I'm going to share my screen, is a free gift for you. I'm going to be emailing that to you when we get off of this. And so go check your email. You'll get the gift. It's a 7-day emotional reset plan, how to move from overwhelm to joy. And I want to give it to you. So I will be giving that to you in a second. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to give it to you. All right. I'm going to put it in the chat and you can access that there. And then the second thing is, where are we here? I need to go back to Canva, guys. Canva. All right, there we go. I have a group coaching that I'm offering, and I'm offering a special discount, 6 weeks with 4 to 6 other women working through these pseudo joys in your life, working through why overwhelm is taking over. You've got a blockage, you can't move forward, and you want to figure it out. And I've got a special discount, $387, 6 weeks for an hour to an hour and a half each week, depending on how long we go. You'll get all kinds of free tools, private coaching at the end with me. This is an amazing deal. And if you're in a place where you're like, I need next steps, this is your next step. Reach out. I'll send it to you too, but I'm going to send the link in the chat, right? I am very careful about who I allow into these groups because I want it to be a really powerful experience. And so reach out, fill out that form. You and I can chat. I'd love to help you find your next step if this is your next step or if there's something else. But if this is a place where you are really feeling held up in, which honestly, I think a lot of people are feeling held up in this, then you need someone to alongside you in it. And if you're like, I don't know, the group thing seems a little like too much for me, I do one-on-one work in this way too, and I'd love to have you be a part of it. So click on that link. I'm going to email it to you as well. Let's find a time where we can create space for you to not be living in this hamster wheel. I can attest to you that true joy is possible. I'm going to stop there. True joy is possible. It is, and it's available to you, and I want you to have access to it. Okay. I am also going to send you the recording here today in case you want to watch it again. I'm not going to be sharing the recording out on social media because you took your time to be here, but I want you to have it. So I bless you. I'm so for you. I believe you have everything that you need for all success in life, whether it's in you, within the people around you, the community, what God has to offer you. I believe you have access to it. And I would love to be a part of that journey. So thank you so much for today. And I look forward to what's in store for you next.